You are listening to the Workbench After Hours podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to the Second Amendment, where we talk about firearms, everything going on in the gun community, and we even try a different whiskey every week. In this week's episode, we have some good news coming out of Colorado and some more bad news from New York on a story we talked about last week. And should we plan on another ammo shortage? While we talk about all this and more, we try the new whiskey of the week. Welcome to episode 113 of the Workbench After Hours podcast. We got a new whiskey for this week. What do we got, Chris?
Old Bardstown. So it's made by Willett.
It is.
So that's all we know about it. And it's a sour mash. And it is 101 proof. I wish we knew how old it was aged for.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything on that, but we've had Willett, you know, the one that comes in that pancake looking thing. And we've had some others from Willett.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't remember if we've had this or not. There's a chance.
I can't remember if we have or not either.
So, I mean, I've had a bottle of this, and I was at the liquor store today, and I had to buy something in order to get Buffalo Trace. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to grab this because it was like $30. But I'm like, I think we've had it. I know it looks just like Johnny Drum and sits right next to it.
Maybe that's why we think we've had it.
Maybe. And I can't find the whiskey list that we put together for episode 100. So we may or may not have had it, but we don't remember.
Yeah.
So
we'll try it again if we have.
Yeah, this will be new. So it's 101 proof, but we'll see it. We'll see if it does that. So really get a lot of vanilla.
I'm getting a lot of vanilla, charred oak. There's like a sweet smell to it.
Yes, sweet fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, nose is sweet, herbal, citrus.
Yeah, that's citrus. That's what I'm smelling.
Kind of fruity. A little bit there.
I can definitely taste like the citrus in it.
Yeah. It's not bad though, not overwhelming.
I thought I broke my ankle this weekend.
Yeah.
I was sitting there mowing the backyard and I didn't see the dog hole that they dug. And there was just grass over it, and I stepped in it. Yeah. And I heard a on the ankle, and I couldn't put any weight on it for like 5-10 minutes. And it hurt so bad. Like, I was like, oh my God, I hope I didn't just break my ankle.
Man, that would have sucked.
Oh, yeah. I was limping bad that night. I've been wearing a brace every once in a while and then putting like Motrin on it, and oh, it sucks.
Jeez. He's falling apart. He's getting old.
Mm-hmm.
So on the palate, it says you're supposed to get some sweet fruit vanilla with a layer of oak earthiness that goes on like a champion marathon runner.
I think that's the burn, the proof that we're tasting. That's the marathon runners, the proof.
Yeah, I mean, the aftertaste it lingers a little bit, but nothing like Johnny Drum.
No. Johnny Drum was all over the place, though.
Right, it was.
It was a roller coaster.
It was good. This one, I mean, you get that kind of sweet fruitiness stuff up front, then you get the vanilla and oak, and then it just kind of stays that way, tapers off, and then you can kind of get the burn a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, it's good.
It's good, yeah. You can definitely get that proof, though, on the back end.
Yeah.
I like the sweetness up front.
Yeah. So we'll see
how it does on the rocks.
Yes. Yeah, it just says distilled, aged, and bottled by Willett, and does not have an age. It's a state bottled, whatever that means.
I wonder what that means.
But it was a Kentucky's Gold Medal Award. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go. So whether we have had this or not, I don't know. If you've seen an episode and we've had this, let us know. It's hard to keep track anymore of what we have and have not had. So
too many out there.
I know, and I cannot find that list. And I don't want to go back through 112 episodes
and figure it all out.
See if we had it or not.
I don't think we have. It does look just like Johnny Drum, though. I think that's why it keeps throwing us off.
Possibly.
It's got like the same color scheme and everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into the topics of this episode, I want to share one cool thing that I added to our website. Because, you know, we do obviously a video version of the podcast on YouTube, and then we do an audio only on, Spotify and all those other audio only platforms. Well, on YouTube, you could comment and, share your thoughts and what you're hearing and everything. Audio only, you can't do that. And so, we do have a lot of listeners that listen to audio only. I can see some of the numbers of people that download, and it's if not at or more than what we get on the video version. So I actually found this thing to where on our website, I posted it, and you could leave a voice message.
Oh, really?
And then it goes to like an inbox that we have, and we can listen to it and even bring it on the podcast if you want to. So it's pretty cool. It's on our website for the gun business. So it's let me share my screen here and I'll show you what it looks like. But if you go to boomstick-tactical or -tactical.com, no LLC in there or anything. So just boomstick-tactical.com. This is what the website looks like. You get our logo up there. After where it says, $20 transfers, see our current inventory, there's a little section there where it says leave a message for the podcast. And all you have to do is hit that start recording. There'll be a little thing that pops up, just making sure you can give it approval to access your microphone, and then you can record a message. So whether you want to comment on something that we've talked about, or give us some episode ideas that you want us to talk about, or maybe something you've heard, or whatever, if you want to comment anything and possibly have it on an episode too, we can do that. So that is really cool. It's super easy. I've done it for some other podcasts that I listen to. I've done some voice submissions that way, and they bring it on the podcast. If you have a question, they play that voice message, answer that question, and it's pretty cool. It's that way. It's more engaging for the audience.
That's pretty sweet.
Can engage with us, since you can't comment on Spotify or anything like that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So if you guys have a voice message you'd like to leave, whether it's ideas for us or comments on anything we've talked about, or if you have a whiskey you like, if you want to talk about whiskey or anything gun related, or if you have anything, feel free to drop us a voice message, and
we can respond.
Yeah, we can always bring it onto the podcast, listen to it, and respond or whatever. Kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes. So again, that is on our website right now. I don't have a specific website for just the podcast, but the podcast information is on this website as well. There's like a link on there that has all our episodes that kind of transfer over, but you could check that out on boomstick-tactical.com.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's free, and it's I had to learn how to do that because I'm not a website designer or a software engineer that we're going to talk about again.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy. I use Wix for the website. So
I love Wix.
Yeah, I had to. It's so complex, and I'm like, it just blows my
I don't
mind.
know. I thought it was pretty easy. I had to use it for one of my classes. They're like, design a website, and I designed it in like 10 minutes flat. Turned it in. The teacher's like, "Wow, you spent a lot of good time on it." And I was like, literally just cut, paste, and built it real quick.
Yeah. There you go. I had to do some coding for it. Yeah, but made it pretty easy. All right, so I just took a sip of this on ice. To me, it's like peppery now.
Uh-oh.
Have you tried that? Like, it's changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not so much vanilla anymore, but like
Cracked pepper.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. I get the vanilla up front and the sweetness a little, but it's not like it was.
Right. For some reason, it got peppier.
Yeah.
I don't know. Peppier, pepper. More peppery. There you go. I don't know if any of those are terms. So there you go. All right. So yeah, again, boomstick-tactical.com. Check it out. And, or if you're in the KC area and you want to buy a gun online, we do $20 transfers to on the Kansas side anyway. Or if you want to buy a gun, let us know. We do ship to out-of-state FFLs. Unfortunately, not to California or New York or New Jersey.
And that list keeps getting longer.
Yeah. But yeah, so check that out. Kind of a couple things. We got one good thing to talk about, and then we got some not so good things to talk about. Chris, do you want to start with the good or the bad?
Let's start with the bad, I guess.
Well, there's more bad than good. So
I'd rather end on a good note than a bad note and be angry for the rest of the night.
All right. So last week we talked about Dexter Taylor, who was that software engineer that lives in New York and was unfortunately sentenced to prison for legally building firearms, right?
Yeah.
And that's been all over YouTube now. Well, since then, this week, he was actually sentenced. When we were doing that episode last week, they didn't give him a sentencing. So we were waiting for that. Guess how many years? Unless you've seen my notes up here.
I was sitting there looking real quick. I was like, I'm going to guess
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And not in just any prison, like we said. It's Rikers Island, which is one of the worst prisons in the U.S.
I really disagree with that.
Oh. And so do a lot of people online, and it's...
I think we should throw that judge in Rikers Island for going against the Constitution and breaking law.
I don't get how...
I don't know how they could even do that.
I want to know how he got convicted. Okay, so during a search of his apartment back in April of 22, officers found 4 AR-style, what they call assault weapons, which we know those don't exist, but, their terms in New York over there. So 4 basically AR-style guns, 5 handguns, 4 rifles, and they put in more than 50 rounds of ammunition. Woohoo, we got more than that behind us. In an unlocked safe and a closet. They also found gunpowder, shell casings, triggers, a 3D printer, and other parts used to build the guns that he was doing. And how this all happened is, credit card companies are now tracking.
I was wondering if it was that or maybe like red flag laws.
No, nothing was ever mentioned about red flag laws. They got wind of it because of the credit card companies, because he spent about $40,000 to get the tools and parts and everything.
Dang, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And I'm kind of wondering what tools he bought. I mean, $40,000 is a lot, especially for that many guns.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Unless he's building some crazy Wilson Combat one-offs.
Well, and then when they say tools too, I mean, I don't know how much a 3D printer costs, but him being a tinkerer, like he said, I'm sure he bought a top of the line one.
I mean, anymore 3D printers, really nice ones, are about $500-$600.
Okay, all right. Well,
so they're not that expensive.
But then you buy the filament parts and stuff like that.
Filament's only $20 for a 2-pound roll.
Really?
Yeah, it's cheap.
So I wonder because I mean,
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
unless he has a CNC 3D printer or something. That's something that could add some money.
Drill presses, I'm sure he needed. I don't know. Hand tools. I mean, the stuff does add up, especially once you get in the gunpowders.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he only had 50 rounds of ammo because that is not much at all.
That's 2 minutes at the range.
Yeah. And they did note that he did not have a gun license, which I don't know the rules in New York just because.
I wonder if they're going after him because but he wasn't selling it, so it wasn't a manufacturing thing.
That's the whole thing. And his thing is this was all because he liked to tinker and found that he can build guns, and he wasn't doing this to sell it to criminals or do any crime himself.
As for his own inventory and passion.
And unfortunately, just because he was spending all that money, even though, if you have that money to spend on it, freaking spend on it. But then the credit card companies got wind of it and were like, ooh, look at this guy. What's he doing with all this stuff? Building guns, ghost guns? So I don't know all the details. I would like to know how he was convicted of this stuff. What did he break?
What law? Yeah.
What law? Because here is a thing on the ATF's website where there's a FAQ section, and basically, do you need a license to make a firearm for personal use? And the answer is no. A license is not required to make firearms solely for personal use. However, a license is required to manufacture firearms for sale or distribution, which this guy did say this was all for personal use. He wasn't building these for anybody, wasn't selling them. I don't even think he shot any of them. So according to the ATF,
you can build what you want for your personal use, as long as you're not selling it to someone else or manufacturing it for distribution or sale.
Yes. So I have no idea what grounds that they gave him 10 years on.
I don't know.
Unless in New York it's illegal.
I wonder if maybe his ARs, if he had, because there's the assault rifle or magazines.
Yeah. Maybe it's because of the type of gun.
Well, that, or I'm thinking maybe aren't they restricted on how many rounds for a magazine there?
I believe so.
So I wonder if maybe he had 30-round magazines, and that's what got him.
I don't know.
Because that'd be the only thing that would maybe make sense. Or because at that point, too, with the 3D printer, yes, you can print and make things.
Right.
But if he's
Most people aren't making their own magazines, though.
Well, you can. Like, you can make your own. You could probably make the outer shell of the magazine and then buy everything else. I mean, you can make just about anything on a 3D printer these days.
But, I mean, when you go to a lot of these websites to buy, like, say, a 30-round magazine, if you're in a state where those aren't allowed, you can't, they won't ship those to that state.
Might be where he got in trouble for 3D printing. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe he's making his own 30-round magazines.
Yeah. I don't know. Or, maybe he was making...
or buying parts for a 30-round magazine.
Or if they're like California to where you have to have featureless stuff on those AR-style guns. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do know you have to have... There's like licensing and stupid BS that you have to do to have ammo. So maybe he didn't have like one of those void cards or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. But whatever it was enough to give him freaking 10 years. Convicted by a jury, too. So
they're not American.
No, they're not. So this is what the basically the judge side of this said is ghost guns are a threat to New Yorkers everywhere. And my office is working tirelessly with our partners in law enforcement to stop their proliferation. Today's sentence should send a message to anyone who, like this defendant, would try to evade critically important background checks and registration requirements to manufacture and stockpile these dangerous weapons. Every ghost gun we take off the street is a win for public safety.
So that makes it almost sound like he was buying like 80% lowers.
But that's totally legal right now.
It's that gray area, though, remember? Remember that time where they were going after the 80% lowers, though?
Yeah.
And you couldn't buy like a P80 and all that.
So maybe you think that's what it is?
I bet that might have been because she keeps bringing up ghost gun. So that means he probably didn't buy the lower with a serial number.
As we just said and saw,
the
ATF says that's completely legal to build your own gun.
Yeah.
But they change their mind every day.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe they just have their own rules.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. That's a really, I don't know. Because the way that she makes it sound like it's a ghost gun. So that means it doesn't have a serial number. He didn't do the background check. So it sounds like he was buying 80% lowers and completing them.
Right.
So I can maybe see that being the issue, but
yeah. So this is basically what she said here. Posting it up on screen for you guys, but yeah, that's still though, and the fact that she said her argument to the attorney for his defense said, "Hey, don't bring up the Second Amendment, because that has no place in my courtroom," but the whole reason he's able to do this is because of the Second Amendment.
Yeah,
which. Pretty sure last we checked, New York was still technically part of the U.S.
Yeah.
Even though they are their own communist government, just trying to. Honestly, I think this is a fear, something to show their power and fear. Because we also did a recent podcast on how New York wants to ban basically Glocks.
Yeah.
Because of their problem with Glock switches. But instead of going after the people that are doing crimes with the Glock switches and maybe trying to track down who purchased those Glock switches, they're going after, law-abiding citizens like this and ruining their lives. I mean, 10 years is
that's a lot.
Yeah. That is life-changing.
Especially for something that he shouldn't have been locked up for.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing I don't get.
No. So, that obviously there's an appeal process, but, with our law system, that is going to take a long time. So he's definitely going to spend some time in jail. Whether it's the full 10 years, we'll see.
I wonder, too, because it said they found 5 handguns, 4 rifles. Are they considering the AR-15 assault-style weapons, that part of that 4 for the rifles, I wonder?
I think those might be separate.
So what are they considering a rifle then at that point?
I don't know.
Because an AR is a rifle.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
But, a lot of YouTubers have been talking about this, and honestly, we have more than those behind us, and so do a lot of those people. There's more guns in this room than he had. There's more ammo in this room than what he had.
Yeah.
And because we live in a more Second Amendment friendly state, we can do that. And, these 2 ARs behind us, I built.
Yeah.
I bought the kits. They're not ghost guns because they have a serial number on them.
Yeah.
And I, went through the whole FFL thing. But
yeah, that's...
how is what I did different from what he did?
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that he just bought the 80% lowers and was milling them out. Yeah. It's the only thing I can think that he might have done wrong.
what he did wrong is lives in New York.
And that too.
I mean, that's if you're into guns or you want to own a gun,
get out of these states that
you
aren't
can't
gun
live
friendly.
in New York. You can't live in California.
Let them burn to themselves.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's going to happen. Eventually they're going to be like, oh, crap, we have no protection if they ever get invaded. Because I tell you, if a country wanted invaded us, I'm going to the coast first now because there's no protection. You better hope those people aren't obeying the law of those local states.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be handing out guns just like Ukraine did.
God, could you imagine if they came in through San Francisco?
Oh my God.
Wow.
The only thing you have to worry about is gangs, though. I mean,
yeah, that's true. But wait a minute. But gangs aren't supposed to have guns.
oh yeah, they're not supposed to,
right? So there's not an issue there.
Oh
They're
yeah,
gonna follow the law.
Oh yeah, all day long, huh?
Yeah. So unfortunately, that is an unfortunate update to that whole thing. God, 10 years for doing what is completely legal.
Even the ATF says it's legal. That's,
So
that's crazy.
I don't know. There's got to be something
more that they're not telling us.
or that, or maybe they're just trying to use him as an example.
I bet that's more what it is.
It's like, man, did his attorney really suck, or what?
I don't know.
Or was the other one really good, or was everybody just because obviously the judge said don't talk about the Second Amendment. So her mind, she was already going to convict.
I mean,
this
at
guy
that
anyway.
point, if the Second Amendment doesn't exist, so that means there is no gun rules then in that state. Is the way I look at it.
Right? Like I don't see how she can legally bring up that argument. Like, hey, the whole Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, all this stuff
shocked
doesn't
this didn't
apply.
cause like a big uproar there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about it like we are, but
I mean, if New Yorkers got like really pissed off about it, they could storm.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Guns and Gadgets is basically. I watched his video on this, and he's like, "Yeah, we're done."
Yeah, that's a
Like,
tyrannical government right there.
We need to start because that is the whole reason
The Second Amendment exists.
Yes, is this tyrannical government.
Yep.
And yeah, there was another podcast. I was thinking about maybe doing a video on this, but it's a whole different thing. And there's this radio host that is basically trying to say why the Second Amendment doesn't apply to today. And a lot of his stuff is just BS. It's like, dude,
Well, then if that doesn't exist, then none of your freedom of speech exists.
yeah, he's like,
People just need to reread the Constitution and understand it's there for us to protect ourselves from a government.
yes. And here we see this government being like, oh, no, that doesn't apply here.
Because they're trying to change it like, oh, it's for hunting. No, read the Constitution. The Constitution's for us to protect ourselves against a government. Technically, they want to get crazy. We're supposed to be a republic, not a democracy.
Right.
And like a lot of people don't understand, oh, it's the same thing. No, it's not. Democracy and republic are two separate things. I was like, if you do the Pledge of Allegiance, it says to the republic for which it stands.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about democracy. They changed that in like the 50s. They were wanting to introduce democracy so the government could start trying to take control and get back over the people of the United States. And then it just got adopted and everyone started using it. And they don't realize that the democracy is where the government controls us. The republic's where we control them.
Yeah.
So we need to get back to being a republic, not a democracy.
Got to vote right.
Yep.
And speaking of that, guess what finally got announced? Debate. 2 debates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last week we actually mentioned that, it's kind of weird that there's been no presidential debate.
Oh, yeah. Since we're already in like May, almost June.
I actually saw today that there have been 2 scheduled. And so Biden, or not Biden, but the people that control Biden basically had him call out Trump as like, hey, let's do these debates. And Trump's like, yes, I'll accept. And there was this Twitter battle that they were going back and forth. So obviously it wasn't Biden. It was the people running his, running him basically. But there's one in June and then one in September. And there's some stipulations that Biden wanted to have. Obviously, one of them was that it has to be in a TV station with a moderator. And then they were going to set the microphones to where once your time ran out, the microphone shut off. So that way that person can no longer go. Obviously, because he wants to.
Biden's still not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah. So if he mumbles and takes too long, are they still going to follow suit and shut off his microphone?
Better.
Yeah. because he's gonna stand no chance against Trump.
No.
But yeah, I thought that was funny today because I'm like, oh look, we talked about that last week. And,
yeah, it's just really weird because you know, like every other year for election, this already would have been full blown, out of proportion. Everything we'd be hearing about election. I have literally not heard anything.
Yeah, it officially got announced,
and it's literally like 15, 16 days from being June.
Yep. I don't think dates got set yet. We can actually look this up really quick. But yeah, it's
just crazy. Like you haven't heard anything.
Yeah, so it just says 2 debates, June and September. We don't have an actual date yet, unfortunately.
Dang it.
Yeah, and, you know they're gonna
keep changing it. Oh, you're in court that day, so
they're gonna do it on days they know he's in court. I'm like, oh look, he's not showing up. Here's what I'm gonna do for the country.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep running you to the ground and increasing taxes.
Yeah, my Bidenomics are working.
Yeah,
get bad guy.
That's why we're at all-time worst for inflation right now.
Yep. So speaking of that, another thing that had popped up that I saw is Vista Outdoors is going to suspend gunpowder shipments. So there is a shortage of nitrocellulose, which is a major compound in making ammunition, whether it's small arms that we use or even what the military uses. Kind of weird, but not really, because guess of where we're sending all of our stuff to?
Overseas.
Other freaking countries. And so, yeah, there's going to be a shortage because they're sending it all to those places. So this was announced by Vista Outdoors. Allegiant Powder, who's one of the biggest smokeless powder manufacturers, got basically their order canceled by Vista Outdoors because there's a shortage of that nitrocellulose. Yeah. This was the thing that came up on it. So they just received a message from Vista Outdoors, who's a parent company of Alliant Powders. And due to the worldwide shortage of nitrocellulose, the Vista Outdoor Company supply agreement for the sale of Alliant powder canisters has been suspended for an unknown period. So they have no timeline for fulfillment and are canceling their orders to Alliant. So I wasn't too familiar with Alliant, obviously, because I don't reload, but I got on their website and they sell a lot of reloading stuff.
Yeah.
They have powders and everything. They do formulas. So they're not going to be. So if you do reload, you might want to stock up on powder.
That's
and
crazy.
so does that mean
there's going to be an ammo
I
shortage
saw
again?
somebody, somewhere saying that obviously Lake City is here in Missouri, not too far from us. Something about them, not selling to the civilians again. And with that shortage, the government's going to be like, oh, hey, we need that ammo more than our civilians do. Well, it's because you guys are sending all the fucking ammo to these other countries that have nothing to do with us.
I saw something else too today. I was like on work, and MSN, all the stupid stuff that pops up. One of them's like, they're trying to go after lead now in our ammo to try to prevent gun sales or ammo sales.
Really?
Yeah. Biden wants to go after lead.
Of course he does.
Saying that you can't have lead in ammo now.
Why? Just because it's...
I think it's so they can take control of the ammunition and you can't buy it. Well, then you have no need for your gun.
Yeah.
That's what the gist of it is.
Oh, they're trying every way possible.
Yeah, they're trying to find ways. They're infringing on your Second Amendment.
Yeah. So now they've created this shortage of this compound.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah. This has been coming, and it's no.
All I'm going to say is vote. Go vote, because, every time a Democrat's been in office, there's been a war, or they make a war.
Yep.
And every time, usually a Republican's in, they try to, let's stay at peace.
Well, here's the thing. Like, obviously, we're not really technically in the war with, Ukraine or
I say we are if we're supplying them
exactly.
stuff.
It's like, how can you say we're not in it? Yes, our troops aren't there.
It's just like World War II. Oh, we're not in it, but we kept giving them stuff, and then all of a sudden Japan bombed Pearl Harbor.
Right. It's like we're giving
You're eventually going to piss off the other person on the other side, and they're going to go do something to you, and then it's going to drag you in.
Yeah. We're supplying one side.
Yeah.
both in, Ukraine and now Israel. We're supplying one side.
Yeah.
It's not like we're supplying both sides and staying neutral, saying, hey, here, go at it. So how can you say we're not doing that?
Yeah.
And that's a huge deal for us, and why we have no money.
Yeah.
That $1 billion that they're sending to Ukraine could have gone a long way here to our homeless.
I don't know, because California got caught in an audit. They, over the last 10 years, they're supposed to have taxes go towards homelessness and battle it.
Yeah.
It was $24 billion. They couldn't account for it in California, the $24 billion. They don't know where it went, what happened to it. It was supposed to combat homelessness, and it's at an all-time worse.
24 billion?
24 billion.
That's not a small number.
No. How do you lose 24 billion? Where did it go? I think we need to start holding our government accountable with audits and where's this money at? And if you can't show me, you go to jail. Because the rest of us, if that happened to us, our asses would be in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick.
They'd be
We'd be
garnishing
hung.
our wages and all this stuff.
But yet they can't keep track of our money.
I noticed they hired, 40,000 more IRS agents?
Yeah,
And they've come out and said there's going to be more audits, more on the rich, but no.
So dumb.
You're going to go after poor guys that are spending $40,000 on their Second Amendment right.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Cash is king. If you want to start buying a bunch of gun stuff,
Yeah.
pay in cash.
Yeah. And don't live in a dumb state.
Right, exactly. So we're not saying we don't want to cause a ammo panic scare thing, but just be aware that if you do reload, it might be a little bit harder to find some powders. And, this may trickle down. Anytime there's an election for the presidency, there's always
There's a cause or
ammo
a reason.
shortage or gun scare. So now might not be a bad time to buy a couple extra boxes. Don't buy everything off the shelf. But, if you have some extra dollars laying around and want a couple extra boxes, might want to stock up.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Guess I'll have to go buy some more now.
exactly. I need to buy some more 300 Blackout and 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah, 6.5 Creedmoor. I need to start stocking up.
I got one of those as a bolt action Mossberg Patriot. It was a fun gun to shoot. I've only shot it once.
Yeah.
But this 300 Blackout behind us with the suppressor down here, love shooting that. It just stinks because 300 Blackout's more expensive, harder to find. So I need to order some more so we can. Yeah. I actually got a couple. We need to go outdoors and shoot because Fort Scott Munitions did send us some stuff to try.
Ooh.
So I need to, so that way we can do a comparison.
Yeah. I went there one time. It was awesome. I was like, I'm just going to stop in on the way back home from Pitt and see what's in there.
I asked if we could do a tour.
Yeah.
For a video and stuff. They said no.
I've been
there's
down
proprietary stuff that they use that they want.
It's kind of cool though. They went you go in there and they show their different ballistics. They got the actual gel ballistics and showing this is how a Hornady self-defense round disperses, and then theirs. It was really interesting to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to go shoot. We have, but it's not something I want to do indoors at a range because it's not going to be a good video.
That, and I don't want people. They'll get mad.
Yeah, so we need to find an area outdoors here.
Yeah, we need to buy land, but I was sitting there looking at property, and I was like, "How is it? It's $110,000 an acre right now where we're at. Ugh. That is insane.
It's crazy." So our prior co-host Hunter, who hasn't been on here since
ever,
he actually he's probably never going to be back on because they're having another kid. They are having a girl.
Oh, snaps.
Yep. They just found that out on Mother's Day. They waited until Mother's Day to
make the announcement.
Yeah. Hunter can't keep anything silent. So Jasmine, his wife, didn't want him to tell anybody. But in Hunter's fashion, he's like, "Oh, I got to tell somebody." So he told me, but he's like, "Don't tell Marie." So I didn't tell my wife. And then he proceeded to tell every other neighbor around here. And then one of them happens to be really good friends with my wife. So they were outside drinking, chatting. And they, she's like, "Hey, did you know so-and-so's pregnant?" And she's like, "What?" And then my wife came home. She's like, "Hey, do you know she's pregnant again?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, oh, you didn't tell me. I'm like, well, you told me to keep it a secret, but apparently even he couldn't keep it a
He
secret.
can't keep a secret to his
and
own
I got
secret.
in trouble because he couldn't keep it a secret. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to be super busy. So I don't think we'll see him on the podcast anytime soon. But he did actually order a gun from me yesterday.
Was it that Springfield?
No, it's a Henry lever action Golden Boy 22.
Oh.
Yep. It's one that we've had before. My wife loved it, shooting that thing. And he was really wanting, he's like, which one should I get? He's like, I want a different caliber other than 22. Like, well, go with the 357 Magnum. And then you could also shoot 38 Special if you don't want a lot of kick and stuff like that. But that one has been out of stock forever. And I've been watching it, hasn't been coming back in. So he's like, man, I got the money now. So I'm like, just get the 22. Your kid can shoot it once he gets a little bit older. It's way cheaper to buy 22 ammo than 357 or 38 Special.
Yep.
And it's just more fun. If you shoot the 22 shorts out of there, it's super quiet. It's almost like it's suppressed. And so he's like, all right, fine, order it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get to borrow that for some videos. But yeah, so he finally got another gun. But they're talking about buying some land in central Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri's a lot cheaper. I've been kind of looking around like in this area, then looking south of us. And then Missouri's always cheaper. I don't know why. Because I was thinking about just buying, I just want 10 acres, really. That's all I want, 10 acres. Build our dream house, have like an indoor shop, like garage or whatnot.
Yep.
And then if I wanted, I could sell some of this corner to in-laws and they could build their house on the other side of the property.
Yep.
And then I could still have time to shoot and hopefully there's a pond on there I can fish. So I would never have to leave the house. That would be my dream.
Yes, exactly.
And then do like all solar so that you don't have to live off the grid.
Live on the grid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Live off it a little bit.
Yep. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, land here, at least in Johnson County, Kansas, is stupid.
Yeah. It's about 110,000 an acre.
Yes. Everywhere is like we're in the suburbs, but the suburbs are
growing.
What used to be all farmland is now being developed into these subdivisions, and it pisses me off because they're starting at 500,000. Starting at 669.
And really, that's what they say they're starting at, but they're not that. They're like 700,000, 800,000, 900,000. Like we went into one, it was like starting at 400. We went in there and I was like, man, this is a nice house. I wonder how much it is. It was $800,000. I was like, how is it double? Like, and the basement's not finished too. Mm-hmm. That drives me nuts. If I'm spending $800,000, have the fucking basement be finished.
Yep.
Like, where I don't see the value.
It sucks because they're building between where we live in Olathe and where he lives in Spring Hill. And I liked that area in between because it was farmland. It was nice to just go out there. You're kind of like not that far from the country. Then you go to Spring Hill, kind of a small town vibe. And now it's just being overdeveloped by all these freaking huge ass subdivisions. And it's like, where are these people getting this
money?
I don't want that big of a house. My wife and I want to downsize since it's just going to be the two of us. And we can't, anything now that we get is going to cost more than the house we have now.
Yeah, and it's going to be smaller.
If we go back and buy our old house, which was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch with a partial unfinished basement, it's going to cost more than what we paid for this house.
Yeah.
Which is way bigger, 3 levels.
That too, and like the lot sizes, like I'm sitting on a quarter of an acre. There are lots out here, they're not even a quarter of an acre.
No.
Like I could literally probably put my arms out and touch the other house. I was like, it'd be great to mow the grass because I can 3-4 passes be done. But I don't like the walls are thin. You can hear everything.
Yeah, I'm not spending $500,000 plus for a tiny ass lot.
Because you got to think they're throwing these things up quick. Like, the craftsman's not there.
Oh no,
the money's not there. Like,
no,
and it's all cheap.
My aunt and uncle bought a house that was built a little over a year ago over there by the Johnson County Airport. Looks nice, but now that the year has passed and their warranty's up, they already have to replace siding. And then there's like some other issues that they're having. They already had to replace a refrigerator that was brand new and some other stuff. And it's like, they don't build it. They just slap them up. They use that T111 siding, which is garbage. And
it is crazy because it was like out where I work, they're building a subdivision. And it was nothing but land, farmland. And I looked over there today. There's like 15 houses in a matter of like 3 weeks. I was like, holy smokes. This is nuts.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And it sucks because now it's like, oh, great, more traffic on all these freaking roads and stuff out here. Riding a motorcycle sucks, which is why I like going out that way because there's no traffic. Yeah, it's crazy and nothing that we can do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But moving on to some other stuff. Should we go with the word? I'm going to throw it. Well, you wanted to do good news last.
Yep, good news last.
We'll save that last. So one other thing that we do take the Second Amendment, even though not every state has it apparently, but for the most part, most of us take it for granted. And traveling abroad is really big.
Yeah,
everybody travels abroad, and it's not uncommon to have a gun in your backpack all the time, or parts or ammo and stuff. And then when you take that bag to travel, you may forget to empty it out.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of people that go to airports and TSA finds guns and or ammo and stuff like that. And, a lot of times it's like, oh crap, that was a mistake.
Yep.
Forgot I had it. We get it. But when you're traveling to other countries, it becomes even more important to make sure that you remove that stuff, because most other countries are completely anti-gun for civilians. And there's been a lot more people that are traveling to these nice destinations that are, islands and everything like that. But because they're owned by the British, which we know the British are super strict and really basically don't allow their citizens to have guns, it doesn't matter because you brought that shit into the country. And guess what? You're on their land and you're screwed. So let's watch this video. Turks and Caicos has been one that has come up recently that is owned by the British, and there's been some issues here.
To paradise, turning into a nightmare for another American allegedly discovered with bullets in his baggage in the Turks and Caicos, now facing a possible mandatory sentence of more than a decade in prison.
Tyler Renwick is the third U.S. tourist arrested for allegedly bringing ammunition into the country. Now, here's the thing. The law in Turks and Caicos requires a minimum 12-year prison sentence. And this morning, his wife is speaking out. She is begging officials for mercy.
This morning, an emotional plea from the wife of Tyler Renwick, an American EMT and father now sitting in a Turks and Caicos jail, possibly facing 12 years in prison. Arrested after hunting bullets were allegedly found in his luggage. Renwick charged with possession of ammunition.
We're just scared that he's not going to come home, and my son shouldn't have to grow up without a father.
Winrick was celebrating his friend's bachelor party in Turks, boarding a cruise ship last Saturday when police say they found bullets in his backpack. His wife, Jerry Ann, says it was an honest mistake.
Like, I understand that there's laws and regulations, but there should be fairness and grace when it comes to things, and especially the intent of them. There's no intent to harm anybody.
Winrick's arrest comes just days after another American man was arrested for the same offense. 40-year-old Brian Watson of Oklahoma on vacation with his wife Valerie in Turks and Caicos earlier this month when airport officials found several rounds of hunting ammo in his luggage. On the heels of these latest incidents, the U.S. Embassy in the Bahamas reissuing an alert, urging Americans to check their bags for stray ammunition or forgotten weapons before departing from the U.S. In the case of Ryan Watson, TSA admitting it failed to detect the bullets before he was arrested in Turks and Caicos, saying TSA can confirm that 4 rounds of ammunition were not detected in the traveler's bag during security screening at Will Rogers World Airport, adding ammunition is prohibited in carry-on bags and passengers are responsible for the contents of their luggage.
So a lot to take away from that one, but what do you think about TSA being like,
well,
totally missing that? And
that's scary, but also check your fucking shit.
Yeah.
You're going to another country. Why would you just, this is my normal, like, I'm always going to check it, especially if you're going to an airport. I'm taking everything out, making sure everything is clear.
Maybe there's a pocket they missed. I don't know.
That's hard.
Yeah. But it sucks because...
like, if it's your carry-on, why is your hunting bag your carry-on?
Right.
Like, why don't you have a separate bag for that?
Yeah.
Like, I've got fishing bags and things like that, and they're all separate. Even my shooting range bag, my hunting stuff is all separate. Like, they don't cross.
There's lots of reasons that could be.
I mean, the whole Brittany Griner thing should have perked your ears up, people.
Yeah.
About bringing stuff illegally into places and spending time in jail.
But because these are white men, Brian's not going to help them at all. They're going to have to serve the full 12 years.
Oh, probably.
But okay, so they didn't have the guns with them. They just had a couple stray rounds of ammo, and they're facing 12 years. Which, okay,
It's crazy.
Turks and Caicos is a British island, so their laws are stupid. But at the same time, it's like it's a couple rounds of ammo. There was no gun, and obviously these were tourists, and they said this was an accident. TSA didn't find it, so should TSA be at fault in any way because they missed it?
I don't know.
I mean,
ultimately, it comes down to you. You brought it in. It's your fault.
But TSA didn't do their job.
Yeah, or they didn't.
What if these guys were terrorists and they got on the plane with the ammo and somehow was able to use it on board? TSA twice missed it.
I mean, I guess that kind of worrisome for us if we're flying around and stuff like that. But
right, I mean, they have all these machines and everything to detect stuff, and they missed the ammo.
I don't know. That's just weird. It's a little fishy.
Yeah, I don't know, but that sucks because they're facing more time than the other guy in New York.
Then again, you need to learn to check your shit.
Yeah, it would really suck being like just a couple rounds, because there was another story kind of piggybacking off of that one where there's a lot of gang violence in some of those areas too in Turks and Caicos, and there was a gang shootout where they lit up this police car and they got away. Like
how do we know they weren't smuggling ammo for the gang though, too? That's the thing. They could always throw like, how do they know? They don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but those criminals,
check your shit.
The criminals that actually shot up the police vehicle and they actually shot some other bystanders and stuff. Those guys got away.
Yeah.
They're not facing 12 years, even though they actually were doing crimes.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's kind of crazy, but I'm a firm believer. Check your shit before you go to the airport.
Yeah.
And verify, like, hey, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
That could get me in trouble or incriminate me. Because I know I like to carry a knife on me. I'm pretty sure just about every American does. You're not going into an airport with a fucking knife, are you? Because you're like double checking. Oh, okay, I don't have it on me. Why the fuck aren't you doing that with your bags? Especially if you know you use it for hunting or shooting or anything like that.
Maybe you're in a hurry. Who knows? I don't know.
That's a little fishy.
Could be a lot of reasons, but I don't think you're going to arm the freaking...
Unless it's a special round.
Cartel.
What round is it? That's the thing I want to know.
Right. Yeah.
50
I don't know.
BCG.
I mean, what are you going to do with like 4 rounds of 9mm?
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't 9mm. Maybe it was like 30-06 or 6.5 Creedmoor or something crazy.
Who knows?
Armor piercing rounds.
You want some more of that, or what are you doing?
I'm debating. I'm debating.
Well.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's another just another 2 guys in an unfortunate situation because
they didn't check their stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's
Moral of the story is check your shit.
Check your stuff before you go to another country.
It's like what I told my son.
But you can still, it's illegal to have a gun here in the U.S. But if you go to the wrong state like New Jersey and get caught, and you're just driving through, you can face up to just as much prison time.
Yeah, I mean, look at
we're
Illinois.
In the US.
Look at Illinois.
Yeah.
So you get caught with that, you're in deep shit.
And it's so stupid. It's like we have this Constitution that gives us a Second Amendment, right?
Yeah.
It should apply to all 50 states and not just be, oh, well, this one and, but this one over there is, but you can't travel through. It's such bullshit.
It is.
Like, at what point do we just say, fuck the government and
I think we've been needing to do that forever.
Yeah. I mean,
we went to freaking war with another country over a 2% tax increase, but yet we're taxed on every fucking thing we have.
We have the Constitution for a reason, and it shouldn't be able to be like, oh, well, it applies to this state and this state, but not this state.
Yeah.
No, that's not cool at all.
Yeah.
But moving on to the good news, finally.
Yes.
So we did a podcast, what was it? Several months ago, I think, about Colorado's assault weapons bill, HB 24-1292. And that one, we went into detail on how ridiculous that was.
Yep.
That was, So
it was
shooting
from the hip, literally.
Yep. It was a broad definition of assault weapon, which would have banned all semi-automatic rifles, including America's most common rifle, the AR-15, along with countless other rifles, pistols, and shotguns that people use for everyday hunting, target shooting, and self-defense. The bill aimed to also ban the 50 B&G rifles, despite the fact that they're rarely ever used in crime. And even worse, then the ban extended to the common firearm parts and many components in the definition of assault weapon and rapid fire trigger activation. So they were trying to ban a lot of stuff, essentially. You were
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything. And we were worried because the state, the Senate and the House are Democratic. Obviously, the governor would have signed that right away. So a lot of people were like, even us were like, this is probably going to pass.
Yep.
Luckily, it did not pass. On Tuesday, May 7th, the State Senate Veterans and Military Affairs Committee voted to indefinitely postpone that House bill, officially taking the bill off the table for this legislative session. So it's good news for now.
For now.
But that bill can come back because it did pass the House.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and bring up variations of this bill, and they're like, well, pass the House. All we really have to do is get it past the Senate. And, if they have the right votes, it can. Luckily, this time they didn't. So you're out of the woods right now, but not indefinitely.
So vote to make sure this shit doesn't happen.
Right.
Simple as that.
So
if you want to be an American.
Good news for Colorado. Hey, hit me up if you want to buy an AR.
One state over.
Right, exactly. So that is the good news, especially for Colorado, because, I mean, it's a popular state for hunting and shooting sports and all that stuff.
It's
and
beautiful out there.
to basically make it every gun
illegal,
like that would have sucked.
Yep.
But it could come back. So
Yeah.
it's good, but then with a little caveat to it. So
I can deal with that.
yeah. So good news for them, but bad news in New York and other areas.
Yeah.
But no surprise there, because New York,
Is
New
New
Jersey,
York.
basically anything on the coast, like Chris said.
Yep.
No bueno.
Democrat ran.
Exactly. So that's all we had for this week. There was some other stuff, but we'll save that for another podcast.
Ooh.
Yes, exactly. All right, Chris. Well, what do you got to say?
Remember, this is a YouTube podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and tickle that bell. If you're listening on all those platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, remember to hit that follow button. And if you want to leave us a message, go to boomstick-tactical.com and go down there and hit that little button and leave us a nice little recording. And make sure you give your microphone that okay.
Yep.
With that, have a good one.